all living beings, from eternity down the ages, being influenced by ignorance, live and die and endure all the great sorrows of mind and body, and reflect on the endless trials of the present and on the immeasurable sorrows of the future, which cannot be got rid of and which men are scarcely aware of. When all men's lives are so full of sorrow, they are greatly to be pitied. Having thought of these things, one should stir oneself up to make a great vow to lead one's own soul to leave the finite and gain the infinite, cultivate every means of grace to deliver all men forever from their sorrows and obtain the highest joys of nirvana. Having made this great vow, one must not give up practicing it or be weary in it, but at all times and all places engage in every good that is in one's power.
3. Whilst sitting in meditation, one's mind should be bent on checking vain thoughts. At other times one should reflect carefully in regard to everything, whether it should or should not be done. Whether walking or resting, lying down or rising up, both reflecting and checking vain thoughts should go together. This is what is meant by the saying that although we practice all these things, our perfection is not really produced by ourselves, but by the nature of the eternal working through us. Again, thinking of the never-failing law of cause and effect, and joy and sorrow as the reward of good and evil, when we think of law we must also think of this goal so difficult to attain. The practice of checking vain thoughts is to sever attachment to the world, and to put away the fears and weaknesses of the two lower schools of Buddhism. The practice of reflection is to deliver from the narrow sin of the two lower schools, who do not have the vow of great pity for others, and who do not keep far from ordinary men who do not practice goodness. In this way the two methods of reflection and the checking of vain thoughts are mutually helpful to one another and inseparable. If both are not practiced, one cannot then enter on the way of wisdom.
4. Next consider those who begin to learn the 5 methods of this chapter, page 81, and desire to get right faith, but are timid and weak. As they live in this world of extreme suffering, they fear they cannot constantly approach God and personally contribute to His service. Thus they fear they cannot attain to this perfect faith, and have a mind to renounce their search after it. These should know that the Tathagata has most excellent means to strengthen their faith. It is by having the mind set only on the things of God, and by desiring that one may be born in another world of Buddha and be constantly with him forever, far from all evil, that one may attain this end. As the sutra says, if a man sets his mind to think only of God, who is in the happiest realm of the West, and if his good deeds are in the right direction, and if he desires to get to that happy paradise, he will then get there. And as he is always in the presence of Buddha, he will never fall back. If we reflect on the eternal nature of God, and constantly practice this method, we will in the end reach the place of true wisdom.
5. The advantages of the practice of the Mahayana faith. Having discussed the practice of these principles, we will now discuss the advantages of practicing them. We have already given a general idea of the mysterious resources of the Buddhas of the Mahayana school. A. If anyone desires to get a right faith in the deep things of the Tathagata, and desires to be far from error, which brings religion into disrepute, and to get the Mahayana faith, he should lay hold of this book, study it and practice it. In the end he will attain to the very highest truth. B. If a man listens to this truth, and has neither fear nor weakness, such a man is certain to succeed to the rank of Buddha, and to be enrolled as such by all the divine ones. C. If a man should be able to reform all living beings throughout all the systems in the universe, in order to make them good, he would not be equal to a man who, for only the time he takes to eat a meal, studies this way of deliverance. The two methods are incomparable.
D. Next, if a man takes this book, studies and practices it only for a day and a night, the blessings received would be incalculable. Even if all the Buddhas of the universe were each to speak of these blessings for incalculably and immeasurably long kalpas, they could not exhaust them, for the blessings of the eternal nature are endless, and the blessings to this man would be also in like manner endless. E. But if there should be any who speak evil and do not believe in this book, the recompense of their sin will be to suffer immense pain for measureless ages. On this account all men should respectfully believe and not speak evil of it, thereby injuring themselves more and others too, destroying every hope of deliverance by destroying the eternal soul of the three precious ones originally in man, the soul of the universe, the body of laws pervading the universe, the body of men teaching these laws, for all the divine ones attain to nirvana by this means, and all the saints attain Buddha wisdom by the same practice. Know that it is by this means that the bodhisattvas of the past obtained pure faith, and that it is by this means that the bodhisattvas of the present obtain pure faith, therefore it is by this means that the bodhisattvas of the future must obtain pure faith. Thus all men should diligently study and practice it.
The closing Hymn deep and wide is Buddhist law, this in brief I have declared, Godward are eternal stores, blessings give to countless worlds. Translator's supplementary matter, the great physician's 12 desires.
Note the first Buddhist temple in or around Nara in Japan was built by Koreans, at the invitation of the Japanese rulers in the 6th century of the Christian era. One of the most remarkable sights I have seen in Japan is a temple at Horyuji, near Nara, to the great physician. It is filled with innumerable votive offerings, to show that the sick were healed by prayers to him. The zeal of modern Christian scientists is far more than eclipsed by this wonderful record of 15 centuries there. By bringing the highest ideals of the East and the West together for comparison, it is hoped that special attention should be called to this rather than to the failings and low practices of either East or West. The scripture which describes this great physician has one very striking passage on his 12 vows or purpose in coming to the world. These 12 vows I translate below.